What is up? My name is Josh West with Cellar Sound, and I have an awesome video for you today all about how to mix acoustic guitars, primarily with a single vocal. So how to bring that guitar out and fill up the entire track to really accent that vocal and bring out the emotion. But before I get into that, if you are mixing your own vocals and you're having trouble finding the right EQ, you're kind of guessing around on some frequencies, or maybe you don't quite understand how compression works or saturation, I created a completely free ultimate vocal preset bundle that works for GarageBand and for Logic Pro X. So I'd love it if you'd click the link in the description at cellardoorsound.co/free presets. You'll get an email that will take you to this page right here, and you will get over 30 custom vocal presets. Just throw your name and email in there, and then it will take you to this page. So it also comes with a free training video that shows you exactly how to put these presets into your computer so that they'll work. And I show you how to implement them and make them work for any vocals that you have. The training is all in GarageBand, but it works exactly the same in Logic. So definitely go grab that at www.cellardoorsound.co/free presets. And also, Happy New Year 2021. Hopefully it's going to be a great year for you. I'm very excited for this year. Hopefully this is going to be an awesome year for you, a year where you get to create so much music and put it out there and release it and let your friends listen to it and your family listen to it. And that is my biggest goal for you for this year, is to show you these simple tools and these free tools to allow you to write, record, mix, master your music and release it to the people you love. So Happy New Year, and let's get started in this video. So this is a great song by my good friend Gideon Dunn. I'm just going to play it for you here so you can kind of hear what we have so far.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far.
All right, so you can hear the vocal has a pretty good mix on it. And the guitar just kind of sounds like a demo. It sounds bland, and it doesn't quite match the character of that vocal. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to solo this vocal, and we're going to go to the beginning here. I'm going to play this beginning kind of picking part for you so you can hear it. All right, sounds pretty good. I'm definitely hearing there's a little bit too much in the low mids. It doesn't sound balanced. I'm also missing a little bit of high end, and this is just a mono guitar recording, so one microphone, so we're hearing it straight down the center. So we're going to kind of attack all those things in a very simple way. So the first thing that we're going to do is, in your session, if you double click, it brings up this little track master guy. So on track, there is plugins here. So we're going to go ahead and open up this EQ plugin. So the first thing that I'm going to do is we want to take a little bit of the low end out. This was recorded in not the greatest room, and I want to avoid just any extra foot movement or just rumbly tones in this recording. So I'm going to click this little guy, which is a low cut here, and we're going to move this to about 40 hertz. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push play on this, and I want to make sure I'm not affecting the guitar frequencies at all. I'm really just trying to get rid of that extra rumble that could cause problems for us down the road. So I'm going to push play and turn off and on this band and just make sure that I'm not messing with the overall tone of the guitar. All right, cool. So I just moved it back just a touch. As always, definitely recommend you have some headphones when you're watching these videos so you can really hear what we're doing. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that kind of low, mid, rumbly sound that just is going to it's basically just a little bit muddy. So it's not making the guitar sound clean and balanced and natural because this microphone is so close up to the guitar. So usually when I think of muddy frequencies, I'm usually looking between about 100 hertz to 400-ish hertz. So somewhere in here is usually my my muddy frequency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this band here, and we're going to adjust the Q and kind of bring it down so I can make sure I'm hearing the right frequency. And I'm going to push play and kind of sweep around here and try and find where that mud is, that real resonant frequency that's happening. Let's try it. Okay, so that's definitely it. You can hear it sounds like the entire guitar is kind of resonating right there, and it's very exaggerated at this frequency. So now I'm gonna widen this band just a little bit because I kind of want I want it to be natural. I'm not trying to just cut that exact tone. I want it to be a natural, more musical cut here. So I usually have a wider Q, and we're gonna see where we're at, which are at 128 hertz, and I'm gonna bring this down to 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this gain and play it with the music and slowly take it down. And I'll take it down too much and show you how that sounds. And it's a really a balance here. Any type of EQ that you're doing, especially on vocals and guitars, it's so easy to cut way too much. I mean, you have this whole visual here, and if you're cutting here, it really looks like you're doing something, but you could be completely damaging the sound. So I'm gonna try and find it, and then I'll cut it a little bit too much so you can just hear what that sounds like. All right, so that sounds good. You could hear whenever I brought it way too far down, all the body of the guitar completely went away. But when I found this sort of -4, -4.5 here, the guitar started to sound a lot cleaner and just overall just nicer. So let's do a little before and after of just this here. So I'm going to turn off this band, push play, and let's turn it on. So that low muddiness rumbly just like completely went away, which is really nice. So the next thing that I want to attack is I'm actually hearing a lot of the pick on the guitar. Normally it's not too much of an issue, but for some reason on this recording where the microphone was placed, I'm just getting a lot of scratchy pick noise when he's plucking those strings. And I want to get rid of a little bit of that, not going too crazy. So what I'm going to do is basically the exact same thing. So I'm going to grab a band here. Actually, let's use this band. And we're gonna bring this Q pretty sharp, and to my ear, it's somewhere in this area. So I'm gonna sweep up and try and find where those tones in that pick that I don't like are at. Let's try. Cool, so that's definitely it. So we're at 1.7K here. Now what I'm going to do is bring this back down to 0, and then we're going to basically cut it. And this one, we're going to have a pretty sharp Q because I only really want to get rid of those frequencies, and that's it. I don't want to really affect the rest of the guitar. So let's see how much we can get away with cutting here. All right, perfect. So that was pretty good. I had to widen the band just a tiny, tiny bit, and I turned it off and on real quick just to make sure that I wasn't messing up the entire tone of the guitar. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, the guitar's sounding pretty balanced, but I want to go to this section here that's a little bit more picked up, and where he's doing these full strums, and I want to see how this guitar is interacting with the vocal. So where the guitar is at right now. Is it making the vocal kind of hard to understand? Is it overpowering the vocal? I'm basically listening for those kind of things. Let's try.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far. I know as I go.
All right, so to me it is just a tiny bit. So what we're gonna do is, usually if something's happening where a guitar is messing with the vocal, it's usually 1K to 3K. So the biggest point here is, yes, I could just bring this guitar down in volume and then that vocal would really for sure be on top, but I want all this nice low end. I want room to boost the guitar if we need to boost the guitar, and I don't want it reacting with the singer very much. Like, we don't want to overpower the singer. So I'll usually look between about 1K to somewhere into 3K. Somewhere in this area is going to be our culprit. And I'm going to sharpen this band, once again, a little wider. And I'm going to play it with the vocal and kind of boost this up and see where it's really sitting on top of this vocalist. Let's try it.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far.
Okay, cool. So it's just at about 1K, which is pretty, that's pretty normal. So I'm going to widen this band. Again, we're going to do more musical kind of cut. And let's go back to 0 and do the same thing. I'm just going to lower it and try and find a good place for this.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far. I know as I go down all your darkest road, I would have followed all the. They say.
Awesome. So what's cool here is now we can actually bring the guitar up just a little bit, which is really nice. So we basically took this down, this 1K down, and the guitar just seems a little bit quiet. So let's boost overall this guitar on the vocal.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far.
All right, perfect. So the last thing that we're going to do is, I'm missing some high-end sheen overall. This is the only instrument in the track, so we need to have some high-end. There's definitely some high-end in the vocal, but I'd like to match that a little bit with the acoustic guitar. So we're going to take this shelf here, and I usually, with guitars, I go around about 10K, and I try and find a good boost here. Definitely, if you're doing stuff like this, make sure you have decent speakers, because it's just easy to boost way too much. And if you don't, go ahead and boost it, bounce down the track, and go listen to it in your car. That's definitely a good rule of thumb there. Let's try this one out. All right, perfect. That is sounding really good. Let's listen to it with the vocal, just make sure.
They say you may be making a mistake.
All right, awesome. So this is in a really good spot. So let's do a little before and after. Let's turn off all the EQ and just listen to this guitar, and then we'll turn it back on so we can kind of hear the difference. Cool, great sounding guitar, just sounds a little bit like a demo. Let's turn on our EQ we did. Awesome, so it's sounding really, really good. The next thing that we're gonna do is, we're missing a little bit of stereo information in this guitar, so we're gonna kind of just trick it a little bit. I normally don't do this if an acoustic guitar is with a lot of tracks, but if it's just guitar and vocal, I have no issue with it, because sometimes it takes up just a little bit too much space, but it's really only if you're featuring that guitar. So what we're going to do is go to imaging here, and stereo spread. So we're adding this right after our channel EQ on our guitar. And this is a fun plugin because you can set the stereo spread of the lower frequency information and the upper frequency information separately. So I'm gonna set the lower to about 0. So the low stuff of the guitar is gonna kind of stay in the center, and we're going to make the higher parts of the guitar and the higher frequencies go out left and right. Let's listen to how it sounds. All right, so now all of a sudden the guitar turned stereo and it's not coming straight down the center, so it's gonna have even more room for the vocal. So let's hear it off with the vocal. I'll play a couple lines and then we'll hear it on.
They say you may be making a mistake.
All right, that was mono down the center. Now let's try turning this on.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far.
Awesome, sounds so good. The vocal just came up front. Super good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're gonna add a little bit of reverb. And if you've watched any of the videos on my channel, you know how I like to do reverb. So normally in GarageBand, you would just click this track here and turn up this reverb send or this ambience send. And although you can do that, I like to have a little bit more control of the reverb, and I'll show you why. So how we do this is we're gonna right click this guitar track, and I'm gonna go to new track with duplicate settings. We're gonna call this, or we'll just call this guitar verb. And I'm going to option click this guitar close and drag it right underneath. So let's just solo this guitar verb here. I'm gonna double click it, and we are going to add a reverb underneath all of our processing here. So it's basically the same as we would send this reverb knob, except for you have so much more control of your reverb, and it's just a lot more fun to play with and to mix, because now you have basically a reverb channel that you can mix. So let's go to our reverbs here. Reverb, and we are gonna go to, which one? Oh yeah, platinum verb. Perfect. It's a really good sounding verb. So the most important thing here in this whole plugin is this dry and wet percentage. You can put this on the guitar track, and the dry is just the dry signal, no reverb, and this wet is the amount of reverb. I could have just put this plugin on this guitar track, but again, I like to have a little bit more control because you can start to automate different reverb levels and change. You could have more reverb in the chorus or less reverb in the chorus. In the intro of the song, I could do like a really nice subtle reverb, and then when he really strums that guitar, the reverb gets louder. So there's just a lot more room for you to do a professional sounding mix versus just putting this on, setting it to 30%, and then being done. So I'm gonna get a decent sound of this reverb with and just listening to the guitar. Let's try it. All right, perfect. So I set a pre-delay of about 34 milliseconds. Pre-delay is basically the time it's going to take for that reverb to start. So as soon as he strums the guitar, it's going to wait 34 milliseconds, and then the reverb's going to come in, which to me sounds so much more natural than the reverb just starting. Because if you're in a room, it usually takes time for the instrument to go and bounce off all the walls. So it just sounds a little bit more real. And then I cut a little bit more of the highs of this verb. I didn't want all those highs in the reverb, so the guitar and the vocals can really shine when that happens. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this dry, and turn this wet to 100%. And I'll push play, and basically you will only hear just the reverb and no actual acoustic guitar. All right, perfect. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more plugin, and we're going to add an EQ. And a lot of times, just like the highs in a reverb, I like to cut the lows because the lows can just get too muddy, and I want the lows to be super solid. So I'm going to take this low cut here, and I'm going to take it to about 200, and we're actually going to listen with just the guitar. And I'm going to try and get a balance. So I'm going to make sure my low is in a good spot, and then I'm going to mix my reverb with the guitar with just this fader right here. Awesome. So that's sounding really good. So let's listen with the vocal and see where we are here.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far.
Awesome. That's in a really good place. So let's, I'm going to mute this track. We're going to do a little before and after real quick. We're going to turn off all the plugins, and we're going to listen to the guitar with the vocal, and then we'll turn everything on and see everything that we did. Here we go. So this is no plugins, no processing, and no reverb on the guitar.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far.
All right, sounds kind of demo-y. Let's turn on our plugins and our reverb and listen.
They say you may be making a mistake. I would have followed all the way, no matter how far.
All right, that sounds so much better. Our guitar is nice and wide. It's very shimmery in the high end. Our low isn't muddy. We're not conflicting with the vocal at all. And then we have full control over our reverb. So just one last little bonus thing of what I was talking about, of a big reason why I do this, is if you push A, you open up this volume automation, which is really nice. So let's just say in this beginning of the song, I wanted the guitar to be a little bit more dry. All I would have to do is I would double click to make a little dot, and then we'll go to where that big guitar comes in. So I'm going to double click in front of that and just one more dot. And then we're going to lower this. Let's just lower this like, sure, -6 dB, -6 dB. Awesome. And now in this beginning section, our guitar isn't full of reverb like this one is. So you can kind of create a movement in your mix where when you hit the chorus, the reverb comes in and it's nice and big. It's just really a powerful tool. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we make another reverb track, because it's a lot harder to do that if you just add a reverb onto your track or use these little sends where you can't really control it very well. So yeah, that's the biggest reason why we make duplicates. Because it turns it into a powerful DAW if you can do that, just like Pro Tools, just like Logic. But yeah, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching this. If you haven't yet, just one more time, go grab my Ultimate Vocal Preset Bundle. Over 30 custom vocal presets. I've got equalization, compression, saturation. You can load these into your session. You can use them on your own vocals. And it even comes with a free training right here that shows you how to put them into your computer and how to manipulate them so that they will work for any vocal that you are working on. And these work in GarageBand and Logic. All right, I think that's all. That's the first video of 2021. I wish you an amazing new year. I truly hope this is just going to be the best year of your life, musically, with your family, all that good stuff. So have an awesome day, and I will see you next week. Peace.